All right, y'all. So we're gonna get started right here. The first thing I wanted to go over is just the sketch, more specifically how I lay everything out between the melody, counter melodies, chords, so on and so forth. So what you're seeing right now is just that, right? We have the melody in yellow, the counter melodies in like an orange hue, then we have one in green. Then we have the main chords. This is what I have two main chord tracks technically, actually. That's just because sometimes I'm doing different things and sometimes they overlap, and so I kind of need to have two chord tracks. So this one is in red, this one is in purple. Then we have one runs track, and runs are typically for what they sound like for runs, or something that's not necessarily ostinato. That's usually going to go in there. So now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to look at this together, line by line, basically, part by part. So here's what's happening right now in the melody. We start off really, really slow. Right. So again, we start off pretty chill, very, very slow. Then we kind of get into some more action here. I'm going to go ahead and play the counter melodies that come in with that around beat, like the second half of beat 10. So now we're kind of transitioning into the next section, about to rev up. Okay, so now we start the ramping up part. So here's what's happening there. So the ramping up right here, it kind of happens towards the end. So this is the chord track, chord number 1, and this is chord track number 2. So as you can see there's a little bit of overlap. So here's what that sounds like moving into that section. And again, for those of you who are familiar with John Williams' original, Superman theme, this is really taken like from that little motor, and then he jumps into that beautiful chord progression. So yeah, so that's where I got that from. Okay, so let's go over that section right there. Here, first and foremost, I'm always thinking about orchestration, and as you can see right here, I have my notes. So for now, what I have is that the viola going to start the ostinato pattern, the violas alone. But at the bar 17, you have most likely what's going to be the double bass are going to be adding in those little stabs at the bottom. They're going to be supporting that line. Then you have violin 1s doing the melody right here. Then you have violin 1s plus the oboe plus flutes doing the melody again. The counter melody is going to be played by the clarinet and the bassoon, also doubled by the cello. So yeah, this is just how I do it, right? When I'm composing and creating that piano sketch, I'm always considering the orchestration, what's going to happen, who's going to be taking the lead melody, who's going to be in the background, the foreground, the middle ground, so on and so forth. One thing I would really want to point out though is this section right here. There's a line that's being played in the counter melody, and it's an ode to the same line that I did before, right here on beat 21. Right, right. So that's what I have. I'm using that little motif and kind of sequencing it throughout the harmonic progression so that I can come to some type of climax at the end. And over here, as you can see, I have it indicated I'm going to be having a riser. So, this is going to be a pretty heavy production, more modern sounding kind of piece. Still going to have orchestral elements, but I'm definitely inspired and trying to emulate the soundtrack. I'm going to go ahead and have like more modern percussion, more epic, quote unquote, percussion, more drums, literally drums, like a drum set, electric guitar, that kind of stuff as well. So now we get to the latter section of this cue. Okay, so this is still up for debate. I am not sure if I'm going to keep that 7th in there, right? Da-da. I personally do like it, but it might sound funny in that register. So we'll see how that sounds. But I really do want to put it in there, so I might just do it anyway. Who cares? But yeah, so I'm enjoying this little. It's very hymnal, I guess you would say. It's very hymnal. There we go with that. Dun, 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 dun. Again, right? We hear that again in the melody. We hear dun, 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 dun. Right? Dun, 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 right? And if you're wondering where that comes in, I have that right here. So I'm really trying to use the motives from the original John Williams piece, and trying to sprinkle it everywhere, so that way there's a level of cohesiveness throughout this piece that really gives you the sense of like, okay, this is definitely supposed to be like an ode to the original John Williams, but done up in a more modern version. So here's that ending one more time. All right, so there you have you guys. Can't wait to show you guys the finished product. Peace out.